What attracted me to philosophy initially was the very deep, meaningful questions about human existence that it asks, that it makes us think about, and the systematic, rigorous intellectual approach that it implies, the fact that we try and provide the best arguments we can for whatever opinion we are ultimately defending. There's some kind of ideal of finding the truth, finding what you think is the best opinion or the most plausible view on some of those big picture questions about human life, but personal identity is one that I'm particularly interested in. So as an ethicist, I'm also interested in questions of right and wrong. Is there a way, kind of an objective, systematic way to decide various issues, ethical issues, and then seeing what we can do at the more practical level, deciding, for instance, what position to hold on things like abortion, assisted suicide, how to regulate new technologies. That's one of my big fields of interest. We live in an increasingly technologically advanced world. We are investigating the human brain. We have new technologies like functional magnetic resonance imaging, or the imaging technologies. I mean, we can read our brains. We can try and influence the brain, primarily to try and fix it when it goes wrong, but also maybe, who knows, even improve it, enhance normal brains in the future. And all of this raises ethical issues and issues of regulation. So I think philosophy can provide a very useful tool for us to think in a rigorous, systematic way about those issues. Another elephant in the room when it comes to new technologies that raise ethical issues is artificial intelligence. And that's one issue that I am particularly focused on currently when it comes both to my research and my teaching. At the moment, I teach one class on AI ethics, so a graduate course, and I try to offer an overview of pretty much all the main ethical issues that modern AI systems raise. That's very broad. You have all kinds of things from AI bias in artificial systems that could harm certain groups, have negative consequences for society, all the way to the most speculative and both exciting and scary stuff, I guess, at the same time, like, will AI destroy humanity? To what extent is this a realistic concern in the foreseeable future? And if it is, as increasingly more and more experts are claiming, how do we avoid this? What's the course of action to take? And philosophy, I think, can contribute to this very important discussion of our time. I'm also teaching a class on personal identity and ethics. We examine the various main theories in contemporary philosophy, although some of them date back to a long time ago. For example, Buddhism. We tried to look at all these theories that try to explain what makes us survive through time as one person. If I assume that I am still the Alex Erler that existed 10 or 20 years ago, even though I have changed in various ways, what is it that allows me to exist through time in this way? Or is this maybe just an error, an illusion? That would be the no-self view. This is one of those deep questions that philosophers ask that's very interesting in its own right, but also the course tries to highlight the ethical implications of which view we favor. Depending on which view you take, you might end up with quite different views on some practical issues, say whether abortion is wrong, whether abortion really harms a future person or a potential person. Things like the possibility of life after death as well are affected by these debates, whether it's possible at all or whether it's desirable. Even assuming it's possible, is it even something you would desire? So one contemporary development in AI, which is pretty much all over the news and people are really now racking their brains about, is the advent of these large language models like ChatGPT, most famous one of all, and how they're disrupting all kinds of sectors in society, including higher education. As educators, we have to decide our approach. Do we want to allow our students to use them? Should we use them ourselves? And if so, how? Very broad range of questions to ask there. One issue that I'm interested in this context is, because I'm interested in those questions of identity, also at the level of what defines who we are centrally, not necessarily what allows us to survive through time, but the kind of special characteristics that many of us think we have. Like maybe you are a very kind person, or you're devoted to making the world a better place, but you think there are these characteristics that uniquely define who you are. It seems that the use of those tools could have a disruptive impact there. One way in which we express ourselves is through writing, right? Some of us think we have our own way to express what we think, and well, if we use these text generators to produce text, we rely on them because it makes us more productive, right? They can write much faster than a human being. Then what happens to our own unique way of expressing ourselves? Is our writing style going to become homogenized, or is our thinking, perhaps even more disturbing, going to become homogenized if somehow there's some implicit ideology or way of thinking that's embedded in the tool and then you inherit it because you rely on the tool to be more productive? These are important questions. I don't think that necessarily we have to have these bad effects if we use those tools, but at least we should think about how we use them to try and avoid potentially those pitfalls.